Still in Matthew chapter 19. Last time we talked about the rich young guy who, he asked a legitimate question. What do I need to do to inherit life? And Jesus gave him a difficult answer. Sell your possessions and give the proceeds to the poor, and then come follow me. And the guy went away sad because he had a lot of wealth. And then Jesus, the disciples said, when they heard this, they were greatly astonished and asked, who can be saved? Exclamation point. Jesus looked at them and said, with man it is impossible, but with God all things are possible. And we talked about the concept, the truth. There's nothing God can't do. There's many things he won't do, but there's nothing he can't do. Okay. And then in verse 27, Peter answered him, we've left everything to follow you. What then will there be for us? That's a pretty legitimate question. Now, Peter and Andrew and James and John, drawing from the text and context, seems like they didn't sell their boats and nets, but they left them and became itinerant, pardon me, hate that, with Jesus. Is it wrong to ask, so what's in this for me? Well, if that's the driving question, then I'd say wrong question. But I don't think it's wrong to be curious. So what will there be for us? I don't think any of us, unless somebody overseas in mission work has left everything, would be able to say we've left everything. But they had. In verse 28, then Jesus said to them, I tell you the truth, at the renewal of all things, when the Son of Man sits on his glorious throne, you who have followed me will also sit on 12 thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. We talked a little bit about that. The renewal of all things, when a Son of Man sits on his glorious throne, is clearly a reference to the second coming and the final establishment of God's kingdom and the clear division between heaven and hell. And I think at this point, with that verse, I'm inclined to go with the literal sense that the 12 apostles will judge the 12 tribes of Israel. Now that's interesting. They didn't say they'll judge everybody. They will judge 12 tribes of Israel. So now kind of don't want to go too far off on this bunny trail, but it's worth a little bit of a chase down. Has to do with, what will the judgment be like? Well, when you read all of the book of Revelation, where we get the greatest indication, the most clear indication of what will it be like, there will be books that will be open. We will be judged by our deeds. But there is the Lamb's Book of Life, And if our names are in that, I don't know about will everybody know everything we've ever done, good and bad? I don't know, maybe. But at that point, I don't think it will matter, because if my name is in the Lamb's Book of Life, heaven is secure. How do I? Well, there is one deed that gets me in to that book. It's that I said yes to Jesus. And I think that's what the apostles will be judging Israel on. Did they say yes to Jesus? Okay. And everyone who has left houses or brothers or sisters or father or mother or children or fields for my sake will receive 100 times as much and will inherit eternal life. You take the long view. You're going to have trouble here. And Jesus said so. In this world you will have trouble, he said. But take heart. I've overcome the world. Well, and our eternity trumps what's going on right now in time in our lives, be it good or bad. Well, and then this is really where I wanted to go. Verse 30, many who are first will be last, and many who are last will be first. Okay, that in a nutshell, I think, is the description of God's economy, his view of people. How do you get to be first in this life? Well, there's several ways. One, which I think is the most legitimate, would be by your excellent achievement, your excellent behavior, your excellent measurable outcomes. Okay. Another way, and you see it, you don't have to look very far. Another way is by cheating. Happens. In fact, it happens all the time. But I think what Jesus is saying, and I have to be careful. I don't want to put words in Jesus' mouth, for crying out loud. But what I get from that is there are a lot of people who are considered first. I mean, high achievers first, who really, when it comes time, when time comes to an end, will be last. You probably heard it, and it's funny, but it's not. The old saying says, I spent my entire career climbing the ladder of success, and when I got to the top, I looked around and realized I'd had it leaning against the wrong wall all the time. Well, I think that will happen to a lot of people. So just for me, and I think for you, we got to make sure our ladder's leaning against the right wall. Because many who are first now will be last then, and many who are last now will be first then. So I don't think Jesus is saying, so just be last. No, I don't think he's saying, well, don't bother bother with achievement. No, I think what he's saying is evaluate your motive. Stay focused on what matters. Because, and the truth is, when you focus on what matters, there are a lot of times that you will be left out of the, gold medal ceremony. Now, not always. There are people, and I have such high regard for them, who they have maintained their highest value to honor God and to bring Christ to the people in their lives who have made their way to the top. In business and industry, there are those people. Not a lot of them, but they are there. They are there. In athletics, yeah, they're there. Still in a minority, but they're there. Well, okay, in politics, you already know I'm a political pessimist. It seems like that layer would be thinner to me, but there's got to be people there. God has people everywhere. Now, what's that mean for me and you? You might be in a position where your excellent performance and achievement will put you in the upper tier. It might be, but you might not be. I toyed with the idea of titling my autobiography, if I ever write it, Dealing with Failure in Anonymity. Because I really haven't ever been that guy at the top. I haven't ever been first. And there was a time in my life where I thought, when I was in youth ministry, I loved I loved the kids, I loved the work, but I went far out of my way to do far more than was good or necessary because I wanted to be the top dog. I wanted everybody in my youth ministry world to look at me and say, wow, that dude, he's first. It never happened, thankfully. 17 years of effort and some lives that I touched. I'm grateful for that. But I've come to realize there's no reason to be in that race. Just be faithful. So, when it comes to success, the best measure, the best godly measure of success is faithfulness. And there are times when a person's faithfulness will produce amazing achievement and results. Other times, far less from what the world can see. But that's not all there is. If today you don't feel first, welcome to the crowd. And my challenge to you and me is be faithful. Make that your goal. Because many who are first in this life will be last in the life to come. And many who were last in this life will be first in the life to come. Okay, that's all. I'll see you next time on So Care with Stevie Boy.